Hey guys, so part 2 I guess of the forged frontier style knife that I'm making. These are the two knives that I forged out of the piece of Mustang coil spring. They have been through 3 normalizing cycles, so they are ready to grind to shape, finish grinding the bevel on them, handle holes and all of that. That's basically what we're going for. So as you can see, it's a little bit different than what came out of the forge, but not a whole lot. And yes, it is possible to forge a little bit more of the blade shape. Next step, of course, is going to be to finish that flat grind on there and drill some handle pin holes. And the next thing to do is go ahead and put or finish the rough flat grind on both of these knives. Okay, back at the drill press here. So the two knives here, rough ground, ready for handle pin hole. These knives get a 1/4-inch brass rivet, 2 of them per handle. I use an F-size drill bit, which is just a few thousandths larger than a 1/4-inch, which is nice because then you're not fighting a 1/4-inch pin into a 1/4-inch hole. That's another nice thing about normalizing is it makes your steel comparatively softer. Okay, so we got the handle, what's going to be pinholes or rivet holes drilled. Just kind of checking the balance of the blade here. Each forged blade is a little bit different, so just seeing where that balance lies. Seems to be balanced. Both of them seem to be balanced quite well as they sit now, but like I said, there's going to be more weight on the handle end when we finish that. And so, to try to keep that balance a little bit, I'm going to go ahead and put a few weight reduction holes in the tang. I'm just using a 5/16 drill bit for that. So put a couple holes in each one towards the back, and that'll just kind of help a little bit of weight reduction there and keep that balance. It also helps keep helps makes what's called epoxy rivets and to hold that those handle scales on a little bit better. Next step for these knives is to go into the hardening and tempering process. So the next thing I want to do is harden them so that the steel has some obviously some edge holding capability and things like that. So this gets heated up to 1,475 degrees and then quenched in oil. And we're going to go directly into the quenching bath, which is oil. Now, in some cases, agitating it side to side may cause warpage. I've had pretty good success, except on the thinnest of blades, and not getting that warpage. There's instances where you'd have to agitate it sort of edge to edge to avoid that warping. So these two are quenched and they look real good. So one little trick you can do, it does not tell you everything you want to know about a blade, but it can indicate a little bit of how hard it might be. So get a file here and it just skates off the edge of that, not biting in at all. So that's a general indicator that your blade is hard. And these guys are ready for tempering cycle. And I'm not going to film that so much because that could be pretty boring. That consists of 2 hours at 350 degrees, this being 5160 steel, so medium carbon steel. And then cool down to room temperature, and then 2 more hours at 350 degrees again. Okay, so we have the forged frontier knives out of the tempering cycles, and this is what they look like, just a pretty dull gray color. I did not polish them up or anything before I put them in the tempering cycles, otherwise you could see some kind of a dark bluish color maybe. But that's what they look like. So next step is to do the finish grind on them, and on these particular knives I leave a little bit of grinding marks on them, just adds to the little bit of rustic look. The most important thing to remember when you're doing finish grinding on a blade that's done being heat treated is keeping that blade cool. So for that reason, I don't use any kind of gloves or anything like that when I'm grinding, so I can feel that that metal if it starts to get too hot. And this is a 120 grit belt. It's not new, but it's decent still. Okay, so that's pretty much what I'm going for there, and I'll go ahead and buff this out once I get the handle on it. That'll be the finish, and then so these little bit of grind lines are going to be there, but they're going to be buffed out a little bit, and also this along the spine here, that forged portion, that'll show up better. Okay, so this is a piece of elk antler shed that I'm going to use for the handle scales on one of these forged knives. And I'm going to make handle scales out of this portion of the antler. And I use hand saw for cutting this off, and then a table saw for slicing this down the middle. Before I had a table saw, I used a hand saw for that. It is possible. It's just a lot easier with the table saw and quicker. And that seems to be balanced. Whoops. So obviously